Black United, for those who tune into our broadcast on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we really try to tackle issues that are relative to our people specifically. Even though as an ummah, we come in all races and colors and tribes and backgrounds, the work that we do is really concentrated on us, the forgotten about people, the marginalized people, the people in the hood. We try to be a voice for those who don't have a voice or don't know how to make their voice be heard, or their voice is being heard in ways that that is not resonating. We got a lot of people to reach. We got people in the cities, that are expressing themselves in ways that it's really not good. And a lot of times they're victims. They're victims. They're suffering through a lot of things: poverty, despair, broken homes, dysfunction. And these are the people that we are trying to reach, and these are the people that we work for. Many of us, that's where we come from. I was talking to the brother here. I forgot your name, Sheikh. I'm sorry.
Latif.
No, Sheikh Latif. We were talking briefly, and Issa mentioned to me. Pick it down. Can we cuss too? I'm sure they'd be like on the radio, bro. Can I cuss? I wasn't gonna cuss anyway. So we were talking about just the urban areas. So my wife and I, every time we go to these places, you coming out of town, you try to find a place that's close to where you're going at, but nice enough to stay in. Because staying in a nice motels is very important, very important. So usually you get one outside of the area where you at, and so when you come in the area, where we come from, it's like it's hood-rific, it's hood-rific. So we get to these places and it's nice and clean, it's good, clean white folks walking around, and, you know what I mean? It's like, wow, this is amazing, So on our way down, we start realizing where we at. So my wife was like, you see black people around? Nah, I didn't see that, not yet. So on our way to the first event, we saw some black folks, so we like kind of happy, but we still in the area. You kind of tell, we can tell what kind of area it is, And then so as we come into the venue, we're getting closer. The scenery starts changing, And this is, I don't know if this is good or bad. It's good and bad, But the scenery starts changing, so we start seeing big industrial buildings, commercial buildings closed down. You're seeing retail, you're seeing stores boarded up, you're seeing homes boarded up. You start seeing, trash on the street while yada de la. And then you start seeing people walk around just coming outside, just, what's the word we can use? Unkempt. People come outside, you know how people, they got shower caps on outside, flip-flops and clothes all, just disheveled. And in a weird way, we was like, man, this is where we need to be in. This is our people. So we started feeling a little comfortable. But the thing that really set it off was when we saw Family Dollar. Family Dollars, and they probably have them in the suburbs. But when you see Family Dollars close together, you're in the hood. So alhamdulillah. So either way, we always happy to be around our people, even in bad circumstances. A lot of times where we live at is impoverished areas, but that just shows how much more work we've got to do, and how much we've lost throughout the decades. When we were once prominent people, we had control of our neighborhoods, and we've lost that to a certain degree. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to restore that for us. Some of the things that we like to discuss is really us working together, as we mentioned at the previous venue, working together as an ummah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions in the Quran, "Inna hadihi ummatukum ummatan wahida." That verily there you are one ummah. You are one ummah. And we know this in theory to be true, that we are all one ummah, united by la ilaha illallah, no matter where we come from, backgrounds, ethnic makeup. But on the ground, it's not really true. It's not really true. You know, and then with us, it's like an ummah within an ummah, and then there's with the other ethnic groups as well. As Sheikh Latif and I were talking before, you know, he was telling me about in this area there's raise my voice up. Okay.
You want me to talk loud or act like you're giving Jim a cookbook?
Oh, no, I can't. You gotta go in a certain mindset to do that. I'm not in that mindset, but I can talk loud. But, you know, I was talking to Sheikh Latif, and he was telling me that, you know, you have a concentrated amount of Somalian Muslims in this area, you know. And like in our area, you have Syrians, you have people from Yemen, Palestine, and they all have, you know, their own kind of pockets where they are, you know, and they connect with us and they work with us in some extent, but there's a limit to it, you know, there's a limit to it. So we have this great makeup of an ummah, people from all over, people from different cultures, and many of them have great Islamic civilizations that they come from. And unlike us, you know, we had to go through transitions of the deen, you know, for us to even come to Ahl Sunnah, even though Ahl Sunnah has been here since this country began, right? We had to go through stages and all of the, you know, different movements for us to really find out what the true Islam was. And then pair that with, you know, our struggles as black folk in this country, you know, we've had to be an ummah within an ummah, because even some of these people, you know, they are brothers in Islam, but they're operating from somebody else's narrative when it comes to us, you know, and they won't even, you know, some areas, I don't know if it's like that here, but you know, they'll only deal with you if it's Jumu'ah or if it's Eid, you know, but then outside of that, you know, they don't engage, you know, and then that's just as Muslims, you know. Some of these people, like they're store owners, business owners. I remember one time I went to I don't know what kind of chicken spots do they have in this area, because every place got them. Kentucky, Lincoln, Crown. What do they have here? Popeyes, or any other ones? Churches. All right. Well, in our area, they have a place called Crown Fried Chicken. It's owned by mostly Muslims, and you know, the chicken is halal, or they say it is. You know, Allah knows best. But so we go to these places, and one time I seen a brother. He would come to the masjid, and you know, he come to the masjid. He's talking to us. Says, "Oh, mashallah, you know, alhamdulillah, brother. You know, real pious acting. You know." And so one time I ran up on him in the store, and he had, am I loud enough? Or? So I ran up on him in the store, and he's talking to, you know, in the hood areas, you know, those chicken places, liquor stores, the kind of people that be around there, they just lurking around there, bumming change and stuff. And but these people somehow they able to muster up enough money to go in there and buy a 2-piece or whatever they buying. And so these are people that frequent their store. So one day I walk in there and he's talking to a brother, not a Muslim brother, but a black man. He was like, "You get out of my store, you no good something." And I had to, you know, like, "Yo, man, why are you talking to him like that?" I said, "Don't he come in the store every day?" I said, "The times I come down here, you know, I seen him. You know, why do you talk to him like that?" "Oh, he's no good. He's a drug. I forgot the word. He said something like he was a druggie. You know, like, man, you don't even know the lady. Don't call him no druggie, man. You know what I mean? You know, he's somebody that patronizes your store every single day. You know, so, you know, talking to him like that means you would talk to me like that if something happened. You know, so but that kind of disconnect with people, even though we're supposed to be united as one ummah. You know, and honestly, I don't know if that's going to really change, you know, with the dynamics of how everything's made up. You know, many of them, and no slight to anybody who's not, you know, African American, but many of them came to this country and, you know, establishing the deen, establishing Allah's word to make it upmost in the land wasn't the goal. That wasn't the goal. They came for business, they came for other opportunities, they came for the American dream, and then they saw it was a real nightmare, you know. And then they saw that the people that they tried to mingle with, you know, and we already know, if they would have came and asked us, we would have told them, listen, they'll smile in your face, they're welcome to the neighborhood, but they'll go downtown and file a complaint to get you moved out, and still give you neighborly, you know, do neighborly deeds to you. "Hey, how are you, Mr. Muhammad?" You know, and smile and help you out, and go downtown and get you reported. And you wonder what happened. You know, it was your neighbor that did it. we could have told you that, you know. So, but our focus mainly I said all that to say that our focus mainly with the Black Humanist Roundtable, and people get on this about being black. It's about who we are as a collective, as we are as a culture, who we are as a people, and our background, our experiences in this country, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with Islam. We're a different breed. We're a different breed. And Imam Amin alluded to this earlier. We gotta own it like we're a different breed. Many times we try to blend with these other communities, and then we trying to act like what's the term we use before? Blakistanis.
Yeah.
Or we speak in Arabic and we try to sound like we're from another country. Nah, you from the hood, man. If you from Philly, you got a certain dialect. If you from Ohio, you got a certain dialect. If you from the East Coast, you say soda. If you from over this way, I think do y'all say pop out here?
Yeah.
Y'all say pop, so I'm still say soda until somebody says otherwise. But if I need to say pop because I'm in your land, I will. Over on the East, we say sneakers. Y'all say, I think y'all call them tennis shoes. Did y'all say tennis shoes?
Back in the day.
Or gym shoes, or stuff like that. But all of that makes up who we are as a culture, and that's why our concentration is on our people without excluding anybody else. So when we move around throughout the areas, we are here to concentrate on helping our people grow and develop, because even though I made a joke earlier about coming to the hood and the landscape changes, it's in some places it's deplorable. It's deplorable. Where our people live at and where we operate and how everything's set up, and there's trash all over the place, and closed businesses and homes boarded up, and just people outside, walking around homeless and that kind of stuff, and it's really sad. But at the same time, it's opportunity for us, and we can do a lot if we work together. Some of the things we were talking about the last session, just really having a collective, and putting our coins together, and having power everywhere we go, and having power everywhere we go. This is what's missing. Because all of us, we got ideas. All of us got we got special traits about us. We got a lot of capabilities. We just have to know how to put it together as a collective. We have to learn how to do that. And so this is part of our mission, And one thing we have to understand, that I think there's a drawback sometimes, is that we have to understand that we might not live to see it flourish. We really have to understand that we might not live to see it flourish. You see us here today. This is, as they say, it takes 20 years to make an overnight success. So we've been at it 20 years or more. Doing this kind of work. So if you see us today, and if it seems like, we're somebody, we're regular around the way Joes, but we've been at it some time. It's just now it's social media hearing about us, But if it wasn't for this kind of social media, nobody would really, know about us, Maybe Otis, because he likes fame and stuff like that. He likes fame. But if it wasn't for this kind of stuff, nobody would hear about me, at least. Oh, this is a genius too, by the way. I know he. What's the place where they give them people those prizes for, like?
6 Flags.
No, the genius for people that like. Yeah, Nobel Peace Prize for some. I know you got some type of invention in the works or something. Yeah, inshallah. That we have to understand that we might not live to see what we're doing. I'm not. So, but once we recognize that and keeping the collective going, and that's part of our legacy that we're passing on, so the next generation can, I remember my grandmother used to tell me, and this is an Indian or Native American proverb that I heard. It says that they used to plan for 7 generations. They used to plan for 7 generations, and for us, we've lost that kind of tradition. We're earning our money, and we don't want to leave it to nobody. It's that kind of stuff. But 7 generations we need to prepare for, and you can just imagine the kind of work that takes. as a community. And imagine how hard it is that we've already had prosperity. We've already seen what communities look like. We've already seen what flourishing neighborhoods look like, and then it digressed a little bit, you know, and now we gotta try to build that back. You know what kind of work that's gonna take. That's gonna take an extensive amount of commitment, extensive amount of trust, an extensive amount of working together and putting aside differences and putting aside our egos and putting together our monies and putting together our ideas. Because, you know, anytime we come together, we start planning and organizing, you know, people are going to show up. People are going to show up. You know, and sometimes that can frustrate us when we're doing this work. You know, you only get a few people here, you know. Many times you go to events or venues and like an event like this, you would think in the city would be something bigger. We're not worried about the few people that are here. You all are the ones that matter, you know, because you are the ones who are going to take this and spread it to the other people, what you got here, what you get other places. And then you're the teachers, you're the ones who represent what we're trying to do. And then it grows, because not only are we trying to do the work now, we're trying to spark the next mind, you know, these young kids who are over here sleeping. You know, that's what we want to spark. You know, you ever remember when you were little and sometimes you heard something from somebody and that it never left you, you know, and that might have been a point that changed your life. You know, at that time you didn't know the lesson, but it came to you later on and it sparked you. You know, I remember growing up and, you know, I remember seeing the everyday working man. You know, we used to, you know, being in the streets, we used to laugh at him, you know. And then one thing that sparked one time, I went to prison. I came home after some years, and that working man was still doing the same job. He had already had the job for 30 years. And I was like, man, that's fascinating. At that time, I couldn't see it, but that shows consistency. That shows commitment. That shows dedication. You know, that man was a pillar in the community. And now, then I think about it, that even like, I remember now when we would hustle, people walked out, they moved out of his way, you know. And the older hustlers, you know, I didn't know it then. I never mocked him or anything, but he used to be like, oh, this guy going to work every day. The money he making, you know, he going on week. I'm making this on one shift on one night, you know. But at the same, but I had to go to jail, and then he still. I wonder how many people he walked through there and seen die, or ones that he seen grow up and, you know, watched them go to school, and then they end up being on drugs and all that kind of stuff. So that kind of, you know, like, man, being a pillar in the community is something spectacular. You know, it's not glorified. It's not nothing fancy. You don't get a lot of attention, but that's the kind of work that we need to get back to. You know, taking these communities and working in them, being in them, living in them, and being engaged. You know, and that's a unique trait I think that we have as Black folks. That we in these communities, we know how they operate. We know how they operate. We know how to move through this system. You know, many of our brothers and sisters come from different ethnic backgrounds. When this stuff go down, they ain't gonna know how to move, man. They're not gonna know how to move. You know, and this is why we really need to be in pocket, because they're gonna have to come see us. You know, they're gonna have to come see us. You know, and it's very important for us to really make sure that we, in the next 20 or 30 years or so, we are putting these things in place so it turns into power. You know, that's why people don't respect us, because we don't have anything that represents power. Yeah, we have strength, we have unity sometimes, but power is what we need. Power is what they respect. And power, you know, unfortunately, you know, you use the system for what you can, but power is something you gotta take. Power is something you gotta take. In order for you to have the hand, you gotta take that power. You gotta seize that moment, and you gotta be like, okay, this is how it's gonna go. Because we have the upper hand. We don't have to beg anybody for anything. We don't have to appeal to anybody's moral compass that's non-existent in a lot of times, you know, because we have our own power. We have our own stability. We have our own concentration, you know, because everybody does it, you know. Why is it that when we do it, it's like, you know, it's racist, you know. Every ethnic group, they get together, they move together, they put their money together, they support each other, they circulate their dollars in their community. How come when we do it, it's like we're, you know, we're being like promoting like black supremacy. No, we're doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, you know. They just haven't been subjected to the things that we've been subjected to in this country, you know, discrimination, like extensive discrimination, even to this very day, you know. Even after all of the struggles that we've been through in this country, black people are still discriminated against. Many of the laws that they have in place are based on racial attitudes. You know, they called me the other day about my insurance plan on the car, and they said they had to change. And I said, why is it changing? Because you have an 18-year-old son now, and he just got his license. So now he's, you know, he is more of a, what they call it?
High risk.
Huh?
High risk.
Yeah, high risk. Why is he high risk? You know, who determines that somebody that lives in the hood is high risk? Why would we let them tell this narrative to us? You know, my son is a very safe driver, you know what I mean? But to them, he's young and he's black, he's irresponsible. You know, and then you know how many codes they got on the laws that really, you know, that's subtle about that kind of stuff. You know, it's based on racism. It's based on fear of black people. You know, a lot of stuff they have in medicine and education and legislation is all based on fear of black people really knowing who they are. You know, and this is the beautiful thing about the Deen, that the Deen gives us our identity back. And gives us a double identity. Yes, you can be black in America. You can enjoy your macaroni and cheese. You can enjoy your collard greens. But it's for Allah who's subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now you have an identity as a servant of Allah who's subhanahu wa ta'ala, and a person who has been exposed to all of this nonsense that they call America. You know, so we're a different breed. And you know, if you're a different breed, you got different characteristics, you got different traits. You got to carry it different, you know, and we really got to get back to that, you know, and yeah, it's really deep. But in this community, you know, where we concentrated, let's make sure that we work together, put our money together, put our ideas together, put our egos to the side, because you know how it looks for us as a people going forward. You know, it doesn't look great. It looks bleak actually. And you know, us as going forward, you know, many of us, we're losing our children. You know, we're faced with a dilemma now where, you know, our children don't even want to get married. And our children don't even want to get married, you know, and that's going to cause a problem, you know. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for safety. I mean, but that's all I had is general advice, and I'll come back on the Q&A session. So I'll pass it off to Genius. Y'all know this is a genius, right?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ورضي الله تعالى عن سائر التابعين وعلماء الآمنين وأئمة الأربعة المجتهدين ومقالدين إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I want to start my short presentation off with a question for you all. My question to you is, if I say the phrase Hadith of Jibril, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay. If I refer to something as Hadith of Jibril, if you know what I'm talking about, raise your hand. Everybody there, raise their hand. Okay. Hadith of Jibril is obviously a hadith, a narration of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and its relation to the Sunnah, or the tradition or way of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is like the relationship of Al-Fatiha to the Quran. The Quran is referred to as Kitab, the mother or the foundation of the book. This hadith is known as Sunnah, or mother or the foundation of the prophetic way. And in this hadith, and there are two main narrations, they appear both in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. One of them narrated by Umar ibn al-Khattab, the other one narrated by Abu Hurairah, and Allah be pleased with both of them. And it is narrated that one day while they were sitting with the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, may Allah bless him and grant him peace, they appeared to them a man who was dressed in clothes that were basically milk white, exceedingly white. His hair was black, and no signs of journey were apparent on him. And it's amazing that the word that's used in the hadith is appeared is the same word that's used for the sun or the moon when it comes out, tala'at. Right? He just popped, almost like he just popped out of nowhere. If you've ever seen a sunrise, even if you know where the sun is going to be rising from, and you're sitting waiting for it, when you see it, it still feels like it just popped out of nowhere, right? So this man came, and then he sat so close to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that his knees were touching the knees of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he put his hands on his knees, and he said, "O Muhammad, tell me about Islam. What is Islam? Ya Muhammad, akhbirni an al-Islam." And then the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Islam is that you bear witness that there is no God but Allah. Muhammad is the Messenger of Allah. That you establish the prayer. You pay the zakat. You fast the month of Ramadan. And you make pilgrimage to the house if you have the ability to do so." He mentioned the 5 pillars. And this man who popped out of nowhere, sitting all close up on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Sadaqta, you have spoken the truth." And Umar, the one who's narrating the hadith, says we were all amazed that he would ask the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam a question, and then after getting the answer, affirm the truthfulness of it. Then he asked another question. He said, "Tell me about Imam. What is faith?" And then he said, "Iman is that you believe in Allah, His angels, His books, His messengers, the hereafter, and that you believe in His decree, His covenant. It's good and it's bad." The articles of faith that we know, the 6 articles of faith. And then the man again said, "You have spoken the truth." And then he said, "What is ihsan, or excellence, or spiritual excellence?" And he said, "Spiritual excellence is that you worship Allah as though you see Him. And if you don't see Him, know that He sees you." And then the man asked, "When is the hour?" Meaning, when is this dunya going to end? And the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that the one being questioned doesn't know any more about it than the questioner. So then he said, "Well, what are some of its signs?" And he said that the slave woman will give birth to her master or her mistress. And the poor, barefooted desert Bedouins will compete with one another in building tall, high, lofty buildings. And then the man just went on. And then the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he asked a question. In the more famous narration, he's asking Umar ibn al-Khattab, "Ya Umar, oh Umar, do you know who the questioner was?" And Umar said, "Allah and his messenger know best." And here comes the last line of the hadith, which is the whole entire reason why I mentioned it. Hada Jibril, atakum yu'allimukum dinukum. That was Jibril, Angel Gabriel. He came to teach you your deen. That was Gabriel, Jibril. He came to teach you your deen, your religion, your way of life. A little bit of background. This interaction, the scholars say, took place approximately 45 days before the Prophet ﷺ died. The reason why I began with that question and mentioned this hadith is because these subject matter that Angel Jibril asked about make up a summary of the entirety of the religion of Islam. And that is what is understood from the last sentence of the hadith. That was Jibril. He came to teach you your deen. He asked him about Islam. He asked him about Imam, the outward practice, the belief, and the spirituality, and the signs of the hour. That's what he came to ask him about. And the Prophet ﷺ said that was the deen. So when we're talking about establishing, preserving, teaching, living, or interacting with the deen in any shape, form, or fashion, we should have somewhere in the back of our mind, should be some software running in the background, even if you don't see an open tab on your computer for a parable, that this is what's going on, this is what's happening. Now follow me. How many of you have ever drank any kind of juice, like orange juice from concentrate? Raise your hand. You drink the orange juice, it says from concentrate. How many of you have ever drank freshly squeezed orange juice? Do they taste the same? They don't taste the same. I need you to keep that parable in your mind. Imam said the fresh squeeze is nasty. You notice that most of the time the juice from concentrate is more orange than the regular orange juice. Sometimes they don't even have to put it on the label, but a lot of that stuff, we got additives like preservatives and stuff in there because they're shipping it and all kind of stuff. So it's more than just, juice and the water they added to it. There's other stuff in there, but a lot of times they don't have to put that on the label. Shameless plug. We have some books outside for sale. Some of those books, like Imam Dawood Walid's book, Blackness and Islam. We have some books about some people who were captured, Africans who were captured and brought here to this country as slaves. They were Muslim. Many of them wrote things from memory. Many of them were scholars, like the one that we are teaching about in our black lessons, Umar ibn Said, who was enslaved in Fayetteville, North Carolina. We have documented evidence and proof from more than one angle of what the Islam of many of our forefathers looked like before they were brought here and made into slaves. We know exactly what they look like, meaning the Islam. We know exactly what the curriculum looked like, and everything. Remember, Angel Jibril, in his methodology of teaching, because a lot of times you can teach by asking questions, and that's what Angel Jibril was doing. And he asked him about Islam, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him the 5 pillars, the outward practice. Then he asked him about Iman, belief, what we have to believe in to be proper Muslims. And he asked him about Ihsan, or Islamic spirituality, that we call Tasawwuf, or Sufism. And we're not ashamed or embarrassed about that, right? It's that the people that come from that concentrated group you got to worry about. If you get the parable, if you get where I'm going. The Islam that was taken from our ancestors on the African continent was Ashari and Aqidah, meaning that's the school, the legalized school and blueprint and model and recipe of teaching and learning and believing, our belief that was prevalent in the continent. That's what it was, Ashari and Aqidah. Ashari and belief. Our systematic belief system, what you need to believe, what is improper to believe, and all of these things. The way it looks like codified is called Ashari, named after one who codified it, Imam Abu Hassan al-Ashari. And proper Islam, you have 2 schools of belief, Ashari and Maturidi. In the African continent, they happen to be Ashari. In outward practice, you have 4 schools of codified outward practice. Hanafi school, the Maliki school, the Shafi'i school, and the Hanbali school. They happen to be Maliki. And just like in belief, in outward practice, in spirituality, there's also schools and codifications, just like the other 2 branches. They just call them tariqas, or paths. At one time, the overwhelming majority of them were Qadiriyah. Now, the overwhelming majority are Tijaniyah. Qadiri Tijani. That's what Islam on the African continent looked like when a lot of our forefathers were taken from there by force and had their religion taken away from them. You know, earlier today, when we were at on the Palooza Palace. That's the Palooza Palace. We was at the palace chilling, right? Well, we were at the palace. I mentioned a dua. What I didn't mention is that there was a slave revolt, many slave revolts, but a famous one that took place in Bahia, Brazil, which I don't know if y'all know, has the largest concentration of Africans outside of the African continent, then and now, right? It happened in 1835. The slave revolt was organized and spearheaded by Muslims. One of the Muslims who was found dead after the uprising, after the revolt, they found on him, he had some piece of Quran written on a piece of paper tied to him. And that what he had tied on him was one of those supplications that I mentioned earlier. That was from Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 128. رَبَّنَا وَاجْعَلْنَا مُسْلِمَيْنِ لَكَ وَمِنْ ذُرِّيَّاتِنَا أُمَّةً مُسْلِمًا لَكَ. Our Lord, make us both submissive to you. This is the dua of Ibrahim. And Ismail is making after they built the Kaaba, one of the du'as. Our Lord, make us both submissive to you and our progeny, a nation submissive to you. So here it is, enslaved African Muslims in the so-called New World fighting with other Muslims and non-Muslims for their freedom. And on one of the dead Mujahideen's bodies, they find this verse of Quran praying to Allah that their descendants will be Muslim. And then, if you fast forward through history, if you know your history, you know that, okay, you had this period, you had a lot of Africans coming here, enslaved, and they had their deen taken away from them by force. A few of them were allowed to nominally practice Islam. But then after the period of slavery, like during the early period of Jim Crow, it's almost like a blackout. Like you don't really hear too much about Islam, Muslims, or even the name Muslim. Many of the historians believe, and there's evidence for it, that the Muslims went underground. They went underground in the churches, and they went underground in the Prince Hall Masonic lodges. We even have pictures with Arabic writing on church pews from the South. And then after that period, then you get the emergence of people like Elijah Muhammad, Drew Ali, and other people. And then you get a lot of other history, like people coming out of those movements early on, even before the 60s, and establishing Orthodox Islamic communities. Then you have the 60s. Then you have immigration reform. Now they're letting a whole lot more immigrants over. And that's when you start to see an uptick in non-black Muslims. Until it gets to the point when Imam Amin was speaking earlier, and he asked our brother, what was his name? I think I just saw him, Idris, who became Muslim in 1970, when he looked around and most of the Muslims were black, to 50 years later, where when you talk about Islam, the black people are an afterthought. But you see, I mentioned that supplication because it used to be said for a long time that the fastest demographic of people becoming Muslim on the earth are black American Muslims. I don't know if it's still like that, but for a long time, everybody understood that all over the world. There's no group of people becoming Muslim more than black American Muslims. Nobody. And many of our scholars believe, and I agree with them, that it's because of supplications like these that many of our forefathers made, praying that their offspring become Muslim. Because the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he told us that the dua, there are 3 types of supplication that are mustajab, that Allah answers. And he emphasized, he said, La shakka fiha, no doubt about it. And one of the types of supplications that he mentioned was da'watul mazlum, the supplications of the oppressed person. And in that same hadith, the dua of a parent for their child. So in many of our ancestors who were oppressed by means of slavery, and not just regular slavery where there's a war take place and you're a prisoner of war. No, you're not even human no more. You just traded cargo. You don't have a soul or nothing. You inventory. Our ancestors were treated and regarded as inventory. A lot of people don't understand that. Inventory. Rum, cows, chickens, niggers. You look at the books. When we went to Gambia last time, we didn't get a chance to go to the museum in Jufere and Albreda. But the Europeans, they left by some of their log books. They preserved the log books. They have it in there, right? The name, tribe, where they came from, what ship they left on, and everything. We were just inventory to them. That's double, triple oppression. And you know, if you have children, you know the people that you praying for the most are the ones who came from you, your children. And if you got any iman in your heart, you praying that they remain on the deen. You praying that they remain Muslim. So alhamdulillah, we believe by these supplications of our ancestors that this was the reason, because they just spoke about it earlier. Ain't nobody trying to give us no dawah. These people that came in as a result of immigration reform, they didn't say, oh, let's go to the hood and let's try to give the deen back to the people who had the deen taken from them. No, they ain't trying to do that. They go into the deen, they come into the hood to sell us stuff to keep us away from the deen, alcohol and drug paraphernalia and all that kind of stuff. They're not coming to give us deen. They coming for dunya, but in the process they blocking us from deen. We can't even think straight until we get into prison. And who's the one who sold you the 40? Who's the one who sold you the blunt paper to roll your stuff with, or the bong, or whatever, the hookah? Who sold it to you? Abdul, from the Muslim world, who thinks he's better than you because he's Muslim. And he doesn't realize how he's treating the ones who had their deen taken from them. But alhamdulillah, in spite of all of that, the obstacles, the slavery and all of that, we're coming back to Islam. Still, in spite of all of that, we're coming back to Islam. But we have to recognize we're coming back to Islam, but it's for a lot of us, it's like that concentrated orange juice. We had it taken away from us, so now we're trying to put the Islam back in, but it don't taste the same. They don't just give us the orange and let us squeeze the juice. No, we have the Islam. Here, let us give it to you. Here, it's Islam. But it comes from Saudi Arabia, and it has a lot of anthropomorphism with it. That's those preservatives that they don't put on the label. You just think it's Islam, right? Looks like it's orange juice. The label says orange juice. The label says 100% juice on it. But why it don't taste like the orange juice when you freshly squeeze it? Because they added some stuff to it. It's not the natural water that comes with the orange. There's some other stuff with it. And so we get these versions of Islam that in many cases actually take you out of Islam. Or it makes your Islam weak. Or you don't get the nutritious value that a real orange, how a natural orange gives you nutritious value. Allah's creation, the way He made its fruits and vegetables, you don't need to take any supplements to make sure your body absorbs the nutrients. It's there. But when you start separating stuff and then put it back together, now you got to add stuff to it to make sure your body actually gets the vitamins and the nutrients, and it just don't come out in your urine and your stool. So we have this reconstituted, this processed Islam, and then we have to realize now we don't want that. We definitely don't want your GMO Islam. We don't even want your, frozen from concentrate Islam. We want the real, regular Islam that everybody else on the planet had, that our ancestors had before we were kidnapped and brought to this place. And so that type of Islam, that looks like something. It's been going on for 1,400 years. And regardless of where you at, it has a curriculum. It has a structure. It has a basic level and it has an advanced level and it has intermediate levels. See, we come into Islam, we don't know this kind of stuff. So we come into Islam and we get a little bit from the advanced level, we get a little bit from the basic level, a little bit from the intermediate level, and we just mixing it all up. But those of us who have any jobs or professions that have any level of skill, you know you can't learn your trade or skill like that. You have to come in on a basic level and go up through the levels. Islam is the same way. So Islam, regardless of what school and creed you follow, or what school and outward practice you follow, or what form of Islamic spirituality you follow to tasawwuf, there's a basic level. And we need to know the books and the teachers of that basic level. And then we need to start at the basics. Even if we've been Muslim 10, 20, 30, or 50 years. You know, every time I go back to Africa, I see more and more examples of a lot of the things that we do here, and we think it's just some Black American stuff. I be finding the origin of it in Africa, the untampered with version. Like when I was growing up, I don't know if we still do it now, but back in the day, everybody in the hood had red Kool-Aid in their house. We still do that? We have red Kool-Aid?
Yep.
Not I, right? Right? You know, with 2 inches of sugar at the bottom, right? We still do the 2 inches of sugar thing. We don't do the Kool-Aid, but we still do the 2 inches of sugar thing, right? I found we get that from Africa. There's this juice that we all familiar with. Depending on where you get it from, it goes by a different name. Sometimes it's called BIRT. Sometimes it's called karkade, like in Sudan. In Gambia, it's called wonju. It's hibiscus. You know, you boil it, water, and everybody puts their own little twist on it, but basically you add sugar. Some people add mint, some people add ginger, right? That's the original red Kool-Aid. But it's natural, it's good for you. We get enslaved and brought over here, they give us a cheap, pale imitation, Kool-Aid. Remember the commercial, big fat jug busting through the wall? Kool-Aid, right? We get that. That's the same thing with the deen that we're getting. We just don't realize it. We're getting cheap, pale imitation that tastes kind of like it, but it ain't the real thing. And it actually ain't really healthy for you. Because Kool-Aid ain't nothing but sugar, then you add sugar to the sugar. Kool-Aid is sugar with red dye in it, and you put more sugar on top of sugar. No nutritious value. Karkade, BIRT, or wonju, same thing. Actually has a lot of health benefits. And it tastes the same, even better. It don't taste like chemicals, right? And so it's the same thing with Islam. So in conclusion, what we have to begin to do is we have to learn this Islam for us as individuals, in community, in an organized fashion. We have to learn our tradition. We have to internalize it. We have to practice it. We have to teach it. Not just the teacher. All of us have to teach. Each one teach one. It's not only the Imam. Everybody has to become a teacher. Everybody. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Balighu anni walau ayya." Relate for me even if it's one thing. One verse. Everyone has to be involved in teaching. That's the way the Sahaba did it. The Prophet ﷺ wasn't the only teacher. He would teach some of them who had the time to be with him, and they would teach others who didn't have time to be with him. We have to be the exact same way. As parents, we have the responsibility of teaching our children. That responsibility is on us. It's not on the Imam. It's on us. From the Quran, "Qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nar." Save yourselves and your family from the fire. The way you save your family from the fire, every book of Tafsir tell you, by teaching your family and by rearing them, by ta'lim and ta'deed. teaching and rearing or raising. That responsibility is on the parents. And then we have to spread from there. And so that's what I wanted to mention. And again, what are we teaching? Islam, Iman, and Ihsan. And those things have already been spelled out, codified, and as Imam Shafi'i said, there's nothing left from the Sunnah except the practice.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. I want to have a conversation with you, right? Y'all can engage in a conversation. Conversation is two-way. I don't want to talk to you, I want to talk with you. And the reason why I want to do that is because as I've been listening to my colleague Imams, I've been writing all day. And I don't write a lot. I listen and I just memorize. But they've been making so many strong points that we have material for the next 10 roundtables. Really, like this gathering has been so beneficial and so successful, really. A little background, you know, I told y'all we don't prepare. Every week when we come on, it'd be like the moment before what we're gonna talk about today. Really, and we just go. Don't try that at home if you won't have no experience. You have a little experience, you know, just catch any kind of pass. But we have so much material in our life, us as a people, that we can spend every day for the rest of our lives, for the next 50 to 60 years, and we wouldn't even touch the surface of what we have to do. Do y'all understand that? Seriously. And I'm not exaggerating. The challenges that we have takes lifetimes to solve. To put a dent in the overall damage that has been done to us as a nation. Question: do y'all see African Americans, blacks, ex-descendants of slaves, you know, we have so many, whatever we call ourselves. Do y'all see us as a nation? Honestly, don't say yes if you don't see us as a nation. Question: who's raised by raising? Who sees us honestly? Not because I said it. That's how you think of us. We're a nation. That's good. So give me an example of another nation. Name some nations. Give me 3 nations. You said we are a nation, so give me 3 other nations. I'm gonna make sure you're thinking correctly. American Indians, natives. Indians ain't gonna like you to call them Indians. As a nation, they're gonna reject that. Right? Indians, we ain't Indians, we Native Americans, right? Or natives. No, because as a nation, they take certain things offensive, which is as a nation.
Well, they're going to consider themselves several nations.
Right, with one nation with several tribes in that nation, right? The Indian, different native nations. Okay, give me, so the natives, right? Go ahead, who else?
Caucasian.
Yeah. When Trump says make America great, is he talking about us? I mean, honestly, do we believe when he said make America great, that he's referring to us? Because he's talking about the nation. He's talking about a nation. One nation under God. Do you think that they mean us?
Right.
Really?
So white America is a nation. No, they don't.
Now, because we live inside their nation, we may be included as an afterthought. But it's reality. Just look, they're talking about themselves. That's true. Now, how we deal with it is another point. How we respond is another point. But it's obvious that it's not referring to us. Give me some evidences of that. That we're not the intended thought of that statement. Give me some examples.
Well, when Asians had, Abraham happened because of the coronavirus, they put out things to protect them, but all of a sudden they put enough black people.
Okay, so that's you saying during the coronavirus, when others they put out a lot of things. When it came to the black community, they actually told us we can't get it. Y'all forgot that? Y'all don't remember that?
Yeah.
When they first came out, they said blacks was immune to corona. Hey, black guys. See, that's how I know he's really not black. Because he got it first. You say he's black. He said blacks don't get corona, right? But no, they said that, right? Y'all remember that? Okay. So we ain't need no vaccination. Blacks ain't gonna get it. Right? So we know that was definitely a lie, right? So that's what she was talking about, that type of stuff. What else?
The anti-Asian hate bill that just came up, where it, basically it is protection against the people, but those same crimes that are committed against black people, they don't protect those by a bill, legislatively.
Yes. What else? One that's quite obvious for all of us. Listen, when Imam Fahim was talking, I was laughing because when me and my wife was driving here, that was our conversation on the way. I was like, this is a black neighborhood. When we was coming, just the field, and it was all houses. I come from the hood, so they ain't no house, projects, right? No, these was houses, big, huge houses, but I felt like we was in the projects. And my wife would tell you, we was talking about it, like, and I'm looking, just the field. We came off the highway, and we started driving, and we looking at the people. Before we saw people, we just looked at the neighborhood, and I knew I was in a black neighborhood. But they were all houses. I don't know, do y'all have projects here?
Yeah.
Like real projects?
Yeah. No. Not like New York.
No, we
not
don't.
like the low housing part. Not like New York.
I mean,
Yes, we do. They're projects, but they're not high rises.
okay, not high rise,
Not
but
the
like,
big building, right?
like
Yeah.
projects. You know, like, because I didn't see none.
Elevated project.
I would like,
Not like some
before I leave, show me your projects.
We don't have none.
Like before we leave, like whatever y'all consider the projects, show them to me,
We don't have none.
right? But
We have low income area.
yeah, I know we call projects is low income, but it's a little bit more than low income going on.
Yeah, exactly.
It seems like there's hasty laugh amongst the
I
regarding
need a
the
consensus on what projects are.
Right? But it wasn't projects. So if that was low income, like these was huge houses, right? This is what we saw. But when we looked, we saw that we knew the area. That's by design. You know another thing I saw? What he mentioned, Imam Fahim, buildings, big buildings abandoned, just they call it redevelopment. We call it getting us the heck out of here, right? So that's stuff we see, we experience. So while the nation is building, we're being displaced, right? So obviously, that's not us. Now, so that's the Caucasian nation. Give me one more nation.
Hip hop.
Yeah, that's us. Right?
Under the green.
You watch every day. We're going to visit after this the Somali community. Don't you see them as a nation? Are you included in that nation from your standpoint? Why is another story? That wasn't my question. Do you feel that's your nation? What benefits them, do you feel the same thing benefits you? Okay, so it's a separate nation. That's a Somalian African nation. You got Chinese,
Yeah.
Chinatown here?
Not actually China.
Y'all don't have a Chinatown? Do y'all got Bengali town?
No.
They mix with the white people.
All right. Well, in our areas, they have their own areas. They take over areas, right?
We have a nation.
They function as nations, all of them. Y'all follow me? And a nation, to be a nation, needs to develop certain things. Usually, all of them have it. What are they? Let's dialogue.
Language,
Language, culture,
food,
food, yeah,
marital practices,
marital preferences,
attire, dress.
Attire, dress, economics. They work their money. In those communities, how many times, let's say at minimum, extreme minimum, does the money revolve in that community? Huh?
At least 10.
5, 10. In our communities, this one right here, how many times does the money go around before it leaves?
One. Probably zero.
Huh?
One. Probably
You
zero.
said 1, right?
Zero.
So, nations, the money revolve around. People who are not a nation, it don't revolve around. So we said we see ourselves as a nation, then why are money not going around? And you said all nations do that. You follow my point? Because if we're, and I'm making this up because I'm making this conversation so we can start thinking. Sometimes if somebody don't tell you, you won't really think about it like you need to. So that means if we looked at it and we raised our hand, we're a nation, then part of nation, being a nation, is that our economics must revolve around in our community before it's extended to everyone else. So that's something we need to learn. Immediately, whenever you have knowledge, you must do what with it?
Work. Use it. Action.
Practice. إنما العلم للعمل. Knowledge is only to practice. So, from this point on, all of us individually, as nation, members of a nation, must ensure that our money goes in our nation before it goes out. That's important. So, because you have to be the change you want to see. You can't keep saying we must change, but you ain't changed. The first thing you do with your money is take it outside your nation. And I remember I got a call. He probably is online, so I'm not talking about you directly. I'm talking about you, but I ain't gonna say your name. Right? We have bookstores. We have things we sell in our messaging. Y'all sell something, right?
Yes.
What do y'all sell in this messaging?
Not much.
Something though. What is it?
Bean pie.
You sell bean pies.
You got me today?
Maybe.
Maybe a nation must have goods for services. Gotta have it. It's a must, right? And here's the point. So before we leave, it's a must that when we leave, whatever goods they have, each and every one of us buy some of their goods, even if it's $1 worth. But we can't just talk. So if it's, I don't have no money. Okay. You don't have any money, but we need to support our nation. I need one for him, one for me, one for, you follow my point? This is how you build nations. Can't be just rap. So make sure we get your bean pie count before we go. When we leave, you said, I think we got bean pies. That means you don't have a lot. So that means when we leave, you shouldn't have any. Call us to account. We can't just talk, right? So economics. And make this a practice. Whatever, don't ever say, I'm getting on this person. So he calls me. He says, I ordered this book from Amazon. I said, what the heck is that? What kind of apostasy is that? You heard what I said? What kind of apostasy is that? You have to betray the nation. You went to Amazon to buy a book without checking in the nation, was that available? That's a major crime, bro. He said, I looked on the website, it wasn't there. I said, but you didn't ask. Do we have that book? Does anyone have that book before you took that money outside of our nation? I'm sorry, Imam. I'll buy another book. No, you buy 2 books. You send that one back to Amazon and you buy the book that you're supposed to. No. We have to learn to be a nation. What happens if we betray this nation? Any of us. And we ain't even really apart. But we got citizenship. What happens if we betray the nation of the United States?
Treason.
Treason. Right?
That's by firing squad.
What's going on? What they smelling from Trump right now?
Treason.
Yeah. And they raided his house for fear of it. Just a thought. It's possible. Now listen. It's possible that he has classified stuff that he might share with his buddies that are not a part of this nation. Which to us should be scary. The highest office, and they don't even trust him. So what they think about us? When you think about this stuff, like, because we sleep and we don't be thinking about stuff, like we in a coma. If that's how you feel about the president, the former president, you think like that about him. What do you think about us? The ones who are really not. Well, it's obvious. Look at our economics. You want to defeat a nation, one of the things is you do what? You boycott them. You put embargoes on them. You stun their economic what? So when they want to stun the economic growth, they put sanctions. It's a design in that. So you can't prosper. How long have we had sanctions in the black community? We got so many sanctions, we sanction ourselves by taking our money somewhere else. Right? I want you to. I don't like just to have the dialogue of our Islamic escape from our reality. I used to do that. And I started to thought about it, like, okay, all this, we got deen, we know Arabic, we got all this stuff. We got sheikhs, we got this, and we still in the same condition. So that ain't it. We in the same condition. We had all this stuff, but ain't nothing changed. So obviously, that's not all of the picture. Something we're missing. There's other aspects we're missing that we need, that are essential. When the Prophet ﷺ went to Al-Medina, that's the Hijrah, right? In what year? What year was the Hijrah? To Al-Medina, from Mecca to Al-Medina, what year?
6 year one.
One.
No, that's not year one Hijrah.
You're right.
Right? So that was 13 years after the revelation. Hijrah doesn't start to the actual migration, right? So when they arrive in Medina, the first year is the year that's going after that. Before that, it's before Hijrah, so that's after revelation. After the Prophet ﷺ being sent, so that's the 13th year, right? So then Hijrah starts after that. We learned too, right? See. So, when he made Hijrah, do you notice after establishing a place of worship in the city, he established a souk, economics, business. So when we all, how many have been to Al-Medina now? To the prophets, visiting, to the prophets. How many have been? You gotta get out of this place. You gotta go see the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam at least once in your life, right? You have, still to this day, when you leave the Prophet's mosque, it's businesses all around you. Trade happening, business. As soon as you walk out the masjid, you walk outside the courtyard, businesses all over the place. Unfortunately, some of the businesses there, we wish they weren't there, but it's another story, right? We need to establish business. Do you know every African American black group that entered Islam in the early days of our community were about business and economics? Everyone had a paper, some pamphlets, something they were selling, right? Everyone. So now we find that most of our communities have nothing to sell. Nothing that they own, that they develop, that they produce. Nothing. Nations don't function like that. Nations produce. Good. I mentioned that. So after economics, we talk about another important thing of building a nation that relates is what?
Education.
Education. Please, everyone, write that down, put it in your phones, memorize it. Please. Education. I'm going to say something that's going to hurt. And I'm saying it's going to hurt so we can change it. Right? Y'all ready? Put education. We, as a community, and it's going to hurt, some people are not going to like it. Okay, good, change it. We, as a community, are the most uneducated Muslims on the face of the earth. You hear what I said? That should sting. We are the most uneducated Muslims on the face of the earth. I'm not saying because I'll prove it. Don't get me started. It'll take seconds. Huh?
I might need that.
You want that, Delia?
It's only a couple seconds.
Okay, great. You ready? How long have you been Muslim?
How long I've been Muslim?
Us. It's what just you. See, you can't. Us as a people. In America, how long have we known as African Americans that we Muslim? Don't go back and say slavery because we forgot all that stuff.
About 100 years.
100 years. Is the dominant position of Islam among us the pure Islam of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the majority of the Muslim nation, or are we doing something else?
No.
Okay, that's the proof. See how quick that was? That wasn't hard, was it? You heard it? You answered it. I mean,
Yeah.
listen to what I said. You said, give the evidence. I said, okay, I'll give you that evidence. How long have we known we've been Muslim? we know, let's say give us 100 years, the early 1900s, right? For sure, right? I want you to finish my point. That's why we said we dialogue. Because I want to change that. So we're never going to change it if we don't realize it, right? So follow my point. So if that's the case, within 100 years, most nations, what does their Islam look like after 100 years? Let's go around nation. Europe. When Europe embraced Islam, when Islam reached the shores of Europe, within 100 years, did they have scholarship? Did they have institutions? Did they have schools? Did they have recognized world scholars? Did people travel to Europe to learn Islam from them? Scholars. Okay. The subcontinent, India, Pakistan, within 100 years, did they have scholarship? Did they have institutions? Did people travel from all over the Muslim world to go learn from their scholars? Africa, within 100 years after receiving the message of Islam, did they have scholars? Did they have institutions? Did they have all those connected? Okay. 100 years, do people travel to learn? Do we have scholars? I ain't talking about default scholars. I'm talking about according to the Islamic tradition. Do we have scholars? And if you say yes, you don't know what scholarship is. And that's not, no, this is, listen, if you want to break the spells of slavery, you got to be honest. That's the only way you're going to break it. Because what's going to happen if we don't be honest, we're never going to strive. We won't think we all right. And it hurts to say these things, but it's the only way we're going to change. We got to be really honest. Okay, I'm going to let you go. Go ahead.
Just real quick.
It's free to dialogue. You said dialogue.
In my defense, you said education. You didn't specify Islamic education.
Yeah, I meant Islamic education. I'm sorry. You're right. You obviously know I was talking about Islamic education. Now I'm talking about.
Now.
Yeah. That's what I meant. Can we talk about Muslims? I said Muslims. I thought automatically that's what we understood. So now, I give you an example.
Even if you took secular education, if you were to compare our top 10 for Black America with the top 10 in any other country, it probably wouldn't compare.
That's the.
Well, it's already been recognized and noted that this education that the African Americans get is unequal to those of other nations, other ethnicities. That's accurate.
Here, now, don't take this, what I'm saying, as a put down. Take it as a come up. Right? If I told you you don't know how to do business, and that's why you broke, but I'm a millionaire, and I'm going to teach you how to do business, and I'm going to invest in you, would you listen to me?
Yeah.
Would you say, no, I ain't broke? I mean, you broke. You got products you ain't even selling. You know what you're doing. So, I'm telling you experience, right? All of us, we study hadith. We say we from Quran and Sunnah, right? Let's not get quiet. We're talking. We say we follow Quran and Sunnah, right? How many of us say it? Everybody's like, nah, I ain't talking anymore this now. No, listen. It's a reason why I'm saying.
Okay.
Because we're trying to get somewhere, right? So, how did the Quran and the Sunnah reach us?
Scholarship.
Huh?
Scholarship.
Scholarship. What does that mean?
It's preserved by the
Chains of narration, right? How long we been studying the Quran?
here in America.
Yeah, us black Muslims.
About 100 years.
100 years. How long we been studying hadith?
Probably like 80.
80. Okay, let's get this right. Okay. How many of us you read the Quran? If you ain't reading the Quran, you have to leave. Right? How many read Hadith? Tell you. Does any one of us have a chain of scholars that we know that we can mention for the Quran or the Hadith?
For all of them, or just?
Yeah, or any of them. He just read the Hadith Jibreel. We all talked about it, right? Do any of us have an idea how that Hadith reached us besides the publishing place? No. Okay. You sure?
Yes, sir.
You want to give a shit? You know I tell you.
What's the Sheikh Yakubi?
Okay, go for shit. Go. I'm listening.
That's about it.
Oh, whoa. You can take it off your mask. You remember. No, no, seriously.
No, seriously.
What?
About it. Sheikh Yakubi.
Sheikh Yakubi what?
What?
Okay, is that scholarship?
Blah.
No, is that scholarship?
Is that scholarship?
That's true.
That's the chain. I don't know.
But we don't know, right?
He's saying what his connection is to the chain.
Right. But we don't even know his connection. Listen to my point. We don't, right? We don't even know the connection. Every nation who learned produced scholars who knew that. Every nation. Right? When we talk about the Shehu, don't they know this? Right? Why we don't? And guess what? Every nation produced that chain. One of the boasts of those nations is from their own people. I relate from my father, who relate from this, who relate from that, all the way back to Al-Bukhari. That's the Muslim world. Everywhere. We've been deprived of all this. And not only have we been deprived, they stole us. So they stole us from the land, they took our Islamic education and replaced it with something different that's not recognized nowhere in the world. No, seriously. Now, what does that mean for us? That means we're in a crisis and we have to change it. Right? We're in a crisis. We cannot just say we don't have fair housing and remain in the projects. We cannot keep saying our neighborhoods are unsafe and do nothing about it. We can't do it. We can't say we don't have business and never build none. We can't say we don't have real knowledge of our religion and not do anything about it. You follow my point? We cannot be satisfied with being an underclass in the Islamic world. We can't. I saw something today, right? Look at it. Just quickly pass my phone around. Just quickly, just show. Look at the faces. Pass it around quickly. Just take a quick look, gaze, and then pass it along. I'm going to show y'all something.
Don't swipe, Mike.
Don't swipe. Just move it. Right? Just look at it closely. Do you have any idea what you're looking at? What do you see?
Popular scholars.
You see that? You
The bottom.
saw him, right?
Yeah.
Where you? Where you?
Where am I?
Yeah.
Home.
Right here.
What's that?
Right here.
Why am I on there?
Yeah.
Let me see one more time.
Huh?
I was no black scholars.
He's at home.
Let me see one more time.
Right?
There's no black scholars. All have.
No, there's
There's some white people there too.
No black scholars.
Right.
Yes, there are.
No, there's no black scholars. Not a one.
Yes, there are.
No, they're not. Look at it again.
After America.
They're not
Pay
black.
attention. You say you're a nation, right? Black.
Let me see one more
Not
time.
black. No, you said you was a nation.
That's all from black people.
And then you identified other people as a nation. No. Like, hey, don't give me no half credit.
Well, maybe we could say African diaspora is a.
Nah.
Why not?
They don't send it to you.
You just said that they built, you said in here you got two types of masjids. That's what they told me. You have a Somali masjid, you have a Nigerian masjid. Are you anywhere in that? Okay, so I guess that don't work. No, I don't play no games when it comes to this stuff. Seriously, because it's important. Listen, you know what this is? So there's 4, there's 20. They say these are the top scholars of English-speaking Muslims, and you ain't included. See that?
Who is they saying that?
They,
Yeah.
the other nations.
Okay.
They include you.
Thank you.
No, I want you to think about that. They had no problem. Out of all the Muslims, we established Islam in America. Anyone doubts that? As a name, a household name, that was the work of us. Would you disagree with that?
No.
Let's question.
No.
Why are we not there? You mean
We didn't make the list.
we didn't make the list figuratively and reality?
Who would you put on?
Right? So what does this mean?
Our work to do that.
No, it means, besides that somebody don't even consider us at all. So what gets to the point where we're not even considered? We're not considered at all.
Well, do we have somebody we would put on that list?
Do we?
I'm asking you. You know more people than me.
No.
I know.
We should be asking ourselves that. If we think so, then why didn't we get included? And if we didn't get included, right, then there's a problem that we need to make our own list. Right? We need our own list. And then, as you said, when we make our own list, we're going to compare our list with the list of other nations and see how we stack up. Right?
So, in your opinion, though, would you? I'm just talking. In your opinion, do you
Hey,
think?
don't worry, I ain't shy.
Okay. In your opinion, do you think that we have people to put on a list that will compare to that list?
To that list?
Yeah.
For sure. No doubt about it. But we don't even know. No doubt about it.
I mean, do you know him?
Yeah. But we don't. Not me. This ain't about me. This ain't about you. We're talking about us.
It's a nation.
Right? You understand? We're a nation, not individuals. For me to say I know something is not important. What do we know? And what have I know help us? Because if I just, because we got a lot of money, don't we? But in reality, some people got a lot of money. We broke. Right? I want you to think about this. This is our deen. It sounds like, hey, nah, this is our religion. So our scholarship is not considered at all. It's only secondary in America to the Caucasian people. So it's Batman and Robin when it comes to us. And we always robbing. That has to change. And not out of enmity towards someone else, out of development for us.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
I'm not hating on you. I'm trying to love on me. Because we've been told if we talk about these issues that, somebody actually said to me, why you keep talking about black stuff? And I was like, why you don't talk about black stuff? We got a movie, The Message. How many saw The Message? Imam Naim brought up one of the companions. Right? Ammar, right? Radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And Imam Naim said he was black. What color was he in the movie?
White.
Creamy tan.
Huh?
Creamy tan.
We don't have a problem with that. there's a problem.
I think it's only until recent that we actually knew that.
Huh?
I think it's only until recent decades that we actually knew that.
Oh, that we actually knew it. We, say that again. Did the other nations know that? Yes, they did. It's easy. All you got to do is read the books of biographies. The books of, there's plenty of books in Arabic about the biographies of Sahaba. It's easy. It's not hard to find. That means we didn't have access. Right? So, we got to stop getting an inferior product. When I talked about everything else, no one got angry. I talked about education, you didn't care. I'm talking about regular economics, you really realize that that's a problem. I talk about housing is a problem. We talk about police brutality is a problem. But now when I talked about the religion, it's the same problem, and it's worse. You got a problem with that. What do you mean? No, I mean what I said. This stuff ain't right. It ain't right. But in order for us to make the change, we gotta first realize what? That there is you're not gonna never change if you don't think it's a problem. You're not gonna produce things. So here's the same thing. All the things that he mentioned, until this becomes like standard information for us, we have a problem. Right? I know this type of talk ain't popular. I understand that. Because for us, we've settled. We settled for our own demise. And that ain't cool. Right? We just went around the world and said within 100 years nations produce scholarship, all this stuff. We should have a lot, right? We should have a lot. Now, if we talk about the movements in our communities, you're going to see this at play. You're going to see it played out over and over and over and over and over again. And if we don't change it, it ain't going to stop. Because the devil is going to just give you another route of the same thing. A different name, same stuff. Until we learn reality. And that's, for me, as I go around and do this with the other imams, and I talk to us, it becomes more and more and more important. Right? Why is it for us there's not a push for education? Because we don't realize education is important. Right? We don't realize it. That's why we don't learn. That's why we struggle with our institutions. Because we don't realize that nations need institutions. Right? We don't realize that. So the masjid is struggling to survive. It's struggling to have people attend. When that's part of the religion. Right? That's your central part of the survival of your community, of your nation. So we have to start thinking nation building. And then have conversations as to what is a nation. This is serious stuff. And we're getting ready to go. I wish y'all come. Y'all, they welcoming. We're getting ready to go to the Somali masjid, right? They don't know me. I mean, except from the internet. Let's go see what they do compared to what we're doing.
I think they got one in the projects.
I don't know where they got one. They said they got a new masjid. That's not my point. Let's observe their makeup to our makeup. Huh?
I'll tell you, when I
We're on that way after Maghrib.
I came here in 2004, was it 2004? Something like that, 2004, 2003. And I'll just tell a quick story. I was going to go visit a brother. I couldn't find the masjid. This is before GPS and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I grabbed a young dude off the street. He was a Somali guy. I said, man, take me to all the masajid around here. Right? We couldn't find a place. Then we went across this railroad track. Then we went to some projects. And there was a masjid in the middle of the project. Y'all know what the projects are?
Capital Park.
Whatever, that's a project. They took over the whole project. It was a project for the people from Columbus initially. Now they have the whole project, and it's a measure inside the project.
Okay, I hope that's where we're going. That's great, because I love projects.
That's not the one we're That's not the one we're going to, but depending on who you're riding with, they can take you by that particular method.
Okay, right? So here's my point. I want to see how nations move, and how people who don't realize they're a nation move. Where's our children? Where are our children? Home. We hope, right? What are they doing? Reciting Quran, making dhikr. No, right?
I would hope so, but.
So, we're talking about nations. We're going to go watch people function as a nation. Let's go observe. I'm willing, I don't know how many people, I'm talking about numbers. I'm willing to guarantee you there's going to be families. I'm willing to guarantee that. There are going to be families. Sometimes immediate families, brothers, sisters, cousins. I'm almost sure that's what we're going to see. And I'm going to also ensure that there's going to be a level of respect for education. I'm almost sure. I don't know, I've never been there. I'm just talking about, we agree that they act as a nation, right? So this is how nations act. Let's go watch. And then what you should observe from that is what we need to be doing. Right? In fact, they told me to come and talk to their children. Nations are concerned about who? That's the what? They said, come talk to our children. So that means they're concerned and they haven't totally lost their children to get them there. And I'm going to assume no matter what their children are doing, they're going to stop for that moment, they're going to be respectful, they're going to listen, and they're going to engage. This is all my thoughts. Let's go see if that's what happens. I'm almost sure that's what's going to happen. You know why? Because they're worried about their nation. So they're going to ensure certain things for their nation. When are we going to do the same thing? And each and every one of us, once we have this information, we're responsible. It's real talk. We're responsible. We have to see the problem, be real with it. We're not at the stage where we can keep massaging our emotions. It's too dangerous for that. We can't be afraid of our fears. And that fear leads us to hesitation and action. My favorite movie line is, I think the movie's called Dead Presidents. Y'all ever saw that movie? No?
Yeah.
Who was the star in that movie? One of the stars. No. That's not it. It's the white version. No. Is that called Dead Presidents?
Robert De Niro.
Not Heat, no.
Opportunity.
You remember
What's the quote?
Patrick Swayze
What's the quote? We'll tell you the movie.
with the president's mask? There was Robin Banks.
Oh, no, that's,
What's the name of that movie?
something to do with the way,
Y'all never saw that?
I know.
You gotta say the quote.
There's a line in that movie. No, the line is the bomb. I gotta share the line. Hold up.
We gotta watch a whack movie
Look,
just to get to the line.
I was like, when I heard that back and then, it wasn't even saying that. I was like, bars. Look, he said, They was robbing banks, and they put on different masks, Nixon, Reagan, right? Jumping out of planes, surfing, you remember that movie. What's the name of that movie? Find it quick. You gotta check it out. The guy said, never fear, because fear leads to hesitation. And hesitations will make your worst fear come true. To me, that was the ultimate lie. Because, think about it. How many times we've been in the masjid? Let's be honest. Point blank. Point blank. Point blank. That's the move. Sorry. I was thinking presidents because of their faces. But, how many times we've been in the masjid? Our masjids. How many times we've seen this? Someone comes in, we don't even know him, but he's immigrant from wherever. And we get nervous and let him go up front. How many times? How many of you seen that? Well, what is it? Unanimous decision. You've never seen that happen? How many seen the Imam do it? He's the Imam. Right? He's the Imam. You pray every day. Why, when this person come in, you get scared?
Lack of confidence.
And then what happens? They end up trying to what? Take over.
Or at least give some type of lesson.
Right. This happens. So whatever causes that to happen, we gotta remove. Right? And sometimes you gotta remove it with its opposite. You know, we used to learn this rule in our teachings. They said, arrogance is not permissible except in the face of the arrogant. Arrogance is not permissible except in the face of the arrogant. In other words, you gotta deal with them sometimes the way they come. Right? That's how you stop it. Right? But in order to do that, you gotta develop confidence. And not false, vain confidence. You gotta know your stuff. That's gotta be the standard in our communities. Right? Any of you like basketball, I'll stop. I'm not going all day with this stuff. It means a lot to me. You know? Have you ever watched Michael Jordan? Y'all watch basketball? Basketball. What's Michael Jordan's attitude when he stepped on the court? Huh?
My game.
Say it again?
It's my game.
Like these.
Right? Is there anyone step on the court with Mike Jordan, he's intimidated?
No.
Is there anyone steps on the court with Michael Jordan, he even think it's close to him?
No.
He thinks close to him?
That Michael Jordan thinks that they're close to him?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Absolutely not. Right? And does he play like that? That's how we have to play in our religion. When we step on the religious court, it's our court. That's how we gotta feel. And until the whole world changes towards us, that's how we have to approach the world. Now, we're not second-class citizens. We have to feel that and then act accordingly. Because guess what? We're facing other nations. And if we don't step up, other nations gonna eat us. We're gone. We're already there almost. I just showed you a list. There's some in America. They said the top English-speaking Muslims, this is our language, English, scholars. We're not even on the list. And most of them ain't even been putting it in as long as us. And most of the people that they got on the list are not scholars at all, in nothing. But they have this confidence. Like you ain't a scholar in nothing when you talk about scholarship, right? Now I want you to do West in closing. It's long. I hope y'all get my point here. I know it sounds like sometimes like a beat up. Nah, I'm trying to encourage us in the harshest way. If there's a fire, or if someone's getting ready to do a bishop on us, what's a bishop? Did y'all follow? You know, they ran up, the bishop was giving a class, they ran up and then laid him down, took his jewels.
Oh,
right?
Right.
See that? Right? Would you want me to say, hey, they're coming in the door? Or you want me to say, yo, man? Or better yet, when they come in, they don't even make it in. That's how it should be. They don't even get in the door. They don't even get in the door, period. That's how we have to be. Really? Or what else? Y'all gonna be laying down. And now, when we want to go educate our children, we gotta send them to other nations who wish to keep us down. That has to change. When do they leave Africa to go somewhere else to study?
They don't.
And if they do, when is it? Way after they're already scholarly, right?
Yeah.
They already then produced whatever
Already
they did.
memorized Quran, already know Arabic.
And they're going to the next nation to see what the next nation got to bring back to build their nation. We need those type of institutions. And I'm saying that it's important. And I wrote this, and I'll stop. Imam Fahim said, we have to understand that we might not live to see the result of our work. When you think of all what we're talking about, most of us are going to die trying to do that, right or wrong. And we got to be completely fine with that. So that his grandchildren won't sing the same song.
Yes.
Right? I want to give you a homework assignment. Take the dates away. Go listen to all Malcolm X videos from 1952 to 1965. That's only 13 years. That's all he had. You do realize that, right? Malcolm X's career was 13 years. That's it. Martin Luther King's career was 13 years. That's it. Did you know that? They didn't have long careers. I'm talking about in their work. Very short. Go look at those videos and listen to what he said and see what you just heard us say. Are we not saying the same thing? Are we not? How many years from the death of Malcolm X, Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz, and Martin Luther King to now? How many years? Their deaths. 50-something years, over 55 years. So, if something why are we still having the same talk? Why?
Because it wasn't implemented.
Right? We ain't do it. We heard this talk before, right? And we're having the same exact talk. Let me play a video for you. Quickly. Where's my video? Got my video? Where I put my video? Muhammad, you didn't see my video?
I said it to you. It should be on mine. You said it again?
Oh, I got it. Uh-oh. Okay, listen to this. Oh, wow. important stuff. All right, listen to this. Black people think for themselves. When that was in the early 60s. When black people start thinking like black people independently for their own nation, things will change. Is this not what we just been talking about?
So what's the barrier? Why don't people think like that?
Because they're not taught to think like that, and then no one is practicing thinking, and not enough of us. So each and every one of us have to begin to say, I am that change I want to see. I have to do it. You can't say the Imam is doing it. Oh, Imam Naeem, Imam Fahim, Imam Sheikh is, nope. What are you doing? You can't say, Kana Abi, my father was. Who are you? My Sheikh, no. Who are you? What are you doing? Right? You can't run. You can't hide. You have to take care of your part of the responsibility. And that got to be a mission for all of us. And it's going to take one by one by one by one by one. Everywhere we've been around the country, we've traveled. Everywhere we've been, the same black people are singing the same song in every masjid. Am I right or wrong? We've been all over the country.
But why is that?
That's what I said. We're not doing it. And that's why we're telling you. And now we say, let's do it. And then we're going to help you do it. We're going to get to know what's missing. And we're going to work together to get it done. But first thing is we got to realize the problem. And then take responsibility and help him change the problem. That's the real problem right there. Is we know something and we won't do anything about it.
But you think that's consistent across the entire country for no reason except that people don't want to do it?
No. There's also barriers to that.
That's what I'm saying. What are the barriers so we can recognize the barriers? And that's
The
not,
barrier, the
so
biggest,
we have a couple people. I mean, I'm pretty sure the flyer or whatever went out to a whole bunch of people. You got a couple people here. You got a couple people at other venues. So you got a couple people in this city, and there might be a couple. Even if we quadrupled it, we'll say that's like 40 men and 40 women, right? And all of Columbus or the surrounding area, right? Who would think like that? They would think like that. Why does the majority of people? Why do the majority of people not think like that?
because the majority of people don't understand it. And the majority of people have been taught not to understand. The way they think is the problem. Now here's the challenge to that. Don't worry about the majority. You got you, you got you, you got you, you got you, you got you. Y'all must work together. When y'all truly work together, what's going to happen? Someone's going to join you who thinks like you. Then, as we continue to move, someone else is going to think like us. At a point, we're going to reach what they call critical mass, and then we'll be able to move. Right? Do you follow my point?
Yeah.
I'm from Atlantic City. He's from Pittsburgh. He's in Camden. We don't see everything. We don't see each other every day. He got a community, he got a community, I got a community. But we all got the same problem. And we committed, we gotta work together. So that's my point. Sallallahu alaihi Muhammad Why the Addy was not being there. I'm sorry for talking so long.
Yeah, we got a problem though.
What's that?
I need the family to be a family and everybody make a plate. Got the food left over in the oven. Early.
Don't they got some poor people that need food?
Huh?
We don't got poor people here that need food?
We'll take some.
No, we
I'm
need to
poor,
eat.
I'm
We need-
here.
No, I'm saying,
No,
no, I'm saying in addition, if everybody don't take a plate, don't we got poor people here?
I don't know where they at.
You don't know where the poor people is?
It's a mansion.
Right here.
You got homeless shelter. There's a couple homeless shelters.
I'm talking
He said you
about-
right.
No, we got black poor people here, right? Everybody rich in Columbus?
No, we got homeless shelters. Black homeless shelters.
Black people that suffering.
Yeah.
Oh, we got messages, we can send it.
Okay, well, y'all can.
No, I'm just saying you should never get stuck with food.
Huh?
Y'all got no people under the bridges down
I don't
here?
know, I'm like.
Yes, we do.
That's where we need to go.
Every time we
We
get
need to
food,
go feed them.
Okay, well, let's do it then.
we gotta go see nation first. All right, good.
We got a field trip.
Question, dear brothers.
Yes.
Like Brother Idris, 50 years, 52 years. Next year it'll be 50 for me on this fast, okay? Now, I came in under the Nation of Islam, Elijah Muhammad. Made the transition in 75. Traveled the country, traveled different pockets of the earth. All of what you brothers have said on point. But the latter point you made about Malcolm, the climate was right. Black is beautiful. I'm a singer, poet, performer. That's what has taken me all over the earth. That's what I do. Okay? And have done it. I'm 70 years old. I've been doing this for 55 years, 60 years. Long time. I'm gonna speak right to the point. The climate was better during Malcolm's time, during Ebony and Jet. This is after the Black Wall Street. There was never a better time. The climate, all the things it was the perfect storm. Elijah Muhammad got more out of black nationalism than it will ever see. It ain't coming back. I empathize with your comments. But the climate, I don't know what 100 years is going to look like from here. But the perfect storm was there for us. Black is beautiful in all of the songs and all of the black activists with Malcolm as the point. I ain't seen a voice like his, with that kind of charisma, with that kind of clarity that Allah deposited in him for that moment. There hasn't been one like it. Barack Obama's close, but he ain't there. I hear what you say loud and clear, but straight up, I hear.
Yeah.
But this genie is out the bottle. Shaitan is rampant, and he ain't getting back here. This model community that we have, this hopeful that the believers will be victorious, yes, for the hereafter. Not for this place here. And I've been fighting on the front line with this for many, many years. Now the brother said, why? What's the barriers? We hate self, big time. We never got over it. Even with Elijah's teaching, for all the years he dropped it. It didn't get the job done. With Malcolm, with Muhammad Ali, as the celebrities on the front line for him. Minister Farrakhan, all of that didn't get the job done. Dr. King, Harry Belafonte, James Baldwin, and I could list up the heavyweights. We got lightweights in this climate. I'm an artist. You want to get busy with the young people? You got to get that shaitan out of their jugular vein through the lens of culture. The hip hop, the OGs, original gangsters, we original good guys. That's Malcolm. Not that other stuff. And until we get to them with the language that Malcolm was dropping, with the Islamic posture that we have, with the legacy of our beloved prophet, with the legacy of that. He was an honorable man with insight and fairness and justice. That was his legacy before the calling of the prophecy. So until we walk like that and talk like that, we can speak Arabic all we want. We can chant it in beautiful tones. But until we have character and commitment that this brother's asking about, and we can spend hours on top of hours, and I have, and years on top of you, till my queen looks at me, you going down there again? And I hear her frustration. I get it. You going to see the Somali? I'll roll there with you.
Come on, roll.
I'm you know, and I even had and I called her and said, baby, look, I'm rolling with the brothers and the sisters, whoever's here. We got another part of this, part 3 to do. But that's what I do, and I've been doing this for 50 years. But anyway,
Can I answer that?
I'm gonna leave it there.
Can I answer that?
What would you like to see, though?
Wait, can I answer that though? You just answered it. You can't stop. You can't stop.
Brother.
I can't stop. And listen.
Like Imam Fahim said, okay, I'm gonna stay in the fight, but I'm looking for gender. I'm looking for paradise. But I'm gonna stay in the fight to keep building up my blessings so I can get this lofty place in paradise. But I ain't trying to see paradise here.
No one is.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, the only thing I'm doing is keep this in mind. If you do what you just said, I'm 52, you 70. I got 18 more years of struggle at minimum, just to match you. So you already gave 18 years more fight, just to be like you. To be 70 and say what you're saying, I ain't doing enough work. I gotta keep putting it in, just to be like you. And now imagine if he get that, and this young brother's 18, and he says, well, I got 52 more years to go. See my point? What will he do in 52 years? It's a whole nother chance. I'm from Atlantic City, from Pittsburgh, originally from New York, Camden. We're in Columbus, Ohio, talking to y'all. We're moving. So if we only got 3 people with us in our home, we just picked up 3 more. Then we go to another person. And we really nurture those relationships. And they won't look the same. Malcolm came out of prison. And in 13 years, look what he built. With the help of others, we never know who's that one that's going to be that Malcolm. Malcolm wasn't the first excellent warrior that Allah created. We just got to do the work, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will do it. But we got to do the work. So when I say that, just keep working. Keep knocking at the door. My teachers used to say, keep knocking. When you stop, the next knock is going to open the door. Keep knocking. When you stop, that next knock will open the door. That's Allah behind everything, in reality. But we're doing it. Listen, I remember when I've been home now for 22 years, almost 23 years. I remember when I came home, some of the stuff we talking about wasn't heard of. And now it's commonplace, a common conversation, right? A common conversation. You remembering, because I'm 40 years ago, 42 years ago, you remember when it was us, was a blessing to have a Quran, right? You remember those days?
Brother, yeah.
He's a walking Quran.
Yeah.
Allahu Akbar. Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Because him and his wife and their family didn't give up. That's why he's a walking Quran. Now we got to push him to make more walking Qurans, more walking hadiths, more. Now we've matched the other nations. See my point?
Yeah.
Step by step by step by step by step. It's doable. You look at Indonesia, Malaysia, they're like 99, 95% Muslim. You know how many people went to them to teach them Islam? 9 individuals. They're the largest populated Muslims in the whole world. But 9 people went to them. That's it. 9, that's it. But they were sincere 9. They were a dedicated 9. They were a 9 that thought like 9,000. We have to be, as they say in Arabic, rajulun ka'alf. One man like 1,000. So it's not one of us. This group, we have to see ourselves 20,000, 30,000, because each of us work like that. Somebody got to dedicate. So you said, listen, honey, I'll be back. We're going to the next spot. We're doing work. Because you're motivated. I got to say, honey, next week we hitting the road again. We're going here. We're going there. We're going there. We're not going to stop. Somebody make those sacrifices, right? And each one we reach, you'll see it. You know the Prophet, and I'll stop for me, I talk too much. I'm right. The Prophet ﷺ said, if one of you have a seed, and the day of judgment occurs, it's happening, plant that seed. What do you think the wisdom is there? The day of judgment, you're watching it, what are you planting seeds for? He said, you have a seed, plant that seed. Because ultimately, we just got to do our part.
Right.
The reality is going to be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all we're doing is keep planting seeds, planting seeds, planting seeds. Even if it looked like the day of judgment is right on our heads. But keep planting. And he has a skill set. How long you was overseas?
Since 2007.
A long time, right? He saw a lot. He heard a lot. He observed a lot. He had access to a lot. He's a treasure, even if he might not realize how much a treasure he is. He just takes another one and say, yo, did you remember this? Do you remember this? Do you remember this? Let's sit down and do this. Remember this? You saw this? You saw this? Now we come together. Boom. There's an army there. You follow my point?
I do.
Like, that's how it works. That's what Malcolm did. He got out and he got to work. City, 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 nation, building, nation, building. We stopped doing that. We got to get back to it. No matter how painful it is. It's painful. It hurts. Your wife's going to be mad at you. Your family.
That's the law.
No, I'm not telling you. I'm just talking about us. Because it's work. People gonna be tired. Yo, man, go to sleep. I'll sleep when I'm dead. You go get some sleep. Then when you wake up, let me get some sleep while you work. You can't all sleep. You follow my point?
I do.
That's what we gotta do. And listen, it's easier said, but we gotta do it. Right? We gotta jump on that road when we're tired. And get a sleep, a little nod here and there. We got work to do. Our community deserves it. Alhamdulillah.
That's it.
بسر أسرار الفاتحة. You know, I have a knack to frustrate people to make them do something. Like, Who he talking to? Be scholarly. Okay, go be scholarly.